I think we should get started, right? I'll just continue as I'm already speaking. Like I said, my name's Andy, so I'll be channeling all the webinars happening and the demos today, and I'm joined here by Sascha, and you can introduce himself now.
Gladly. Also, very warm welcome from my side. Thank you for joining us. My name is Sascha Müller. I am a technical sales and solution consultant at Security and Safety Things, and that means concretely that I am a person who can help you choose what kind of application you should choose in order to solve your problems, in order to fulfill your use cases. I will also help you deciding what kind of camera you need for those use cases, and also how to integrate these applications into different kinds of VMSs or third-party systems that you would need, right? So before diving into the actual demo, let me just quickly introduce on what Security and Safety Things actually does. What we do is we provide an application store, as you can see here at the bottom on the right. We do provide an application store for integrators and customers. That means that you, as an integrator or a customer, you can go into our application store, you can see what applications we have, you can test them out, download them, buy them, and run them directly on your camera. And by camera, I mean, for example, a security camera, right? That means that these applications, they will run directly on your camera, and basically the security cameras, they do typical security stuff, but our applications have further use cases. That means, for example, people counting, animal counting, vehicle counting, license plate recognition, and so on and so forth. So that's the type of applications that we offer on the store. And how exactly do these applications run on your camera? Well, basically we developed an operating system that runs directly on your camera, and on top of that, the applications will work. And the operating system, basically, we support several cameras. We have partnered up with a couple of camera manufacturers. Just to name a few, we have partnered up, for example, with Bosch, Hanwha, Vivotech, BST, TopView, Andro Video, just to name a few, and further coming on as well. Also important to mention at this point, we only offer, or we provide the marketplace for these applications, right? The applications themselves, they come from third-party app developers. So it's not us developing these applications, it's third-party app developers. Also worth mentioning, we do offer a device management portal. That means that as an integrator, as a customer, you can go into this device management portal and basically manage all of the cameras that run our OS. And that by managing, I mean, for example, assign them to customers, see what the health of the different cameras are. Is it running? Is it stopped? How much CPU usage is it running on? And also mass deploy applications throughout several cameras, right?
Yeah, so as you can imagine, an application store which you have on your smartphone, say the Google Play Store or the Apple Store, you can go on there, download an app, and it's working directly onto your phone. It's the same thing which we're doing here. So you can browse the store, which I'll share with you in a moment. Browse the store, you can buy, download, get a free trial app, and then just install it directly to your camera, and that's it, as simple as that. And we're going to show you exactly that today.
And just to also mention this, we are a fully owned independent Bosch startup. We have about 140 employees at about 3 different locations. That's Munich, that's our headquarters, Eindhoven in the Netherlands, and also for the US colleagues, Pittsburgh, so we're spread all over the world. And I guess we should dive in now. I would like to show you 3 different applications now, and we'll start with so basically the camera that we're using is that one over there. And I'm just going to show you real quick the user interface of that, so you know how that looks like. So basically, I go here on the user interface of the camera, and you can see right here the video feed, right? I'm just going to step back for a second, and basically, there you can see me, that's me. Our beloved camera woman, Cecilia, in the back. And basically here on the left, you can see a menu of everything that you can see in the camera, for example, the device info, also video settings, stream configuration, also the device health, for example, showing you what kind of CPU usage there is and so on and so forth. But the most important thing is at the bottom, you will find an application overview. And this will give you an overview of all the applications that are installed on this camera, right? And the first application that I would like to show you is AI Face Detect. AI Face Detect is an application that lets you detect face mask usage. So people going in front of the camera, are they actually wearing a mask or not? And this is a very useful application nowadays in these times because of the pandemic. You can use this application, for example, at the entrance of your store or at the entrance of a subway station or even in the hospital, right? And make sure that people are actually wearing a mask in order to avoid infection. We're going to start this application just by clicking here on play. It's as easy as that. And the application will provide an interface, a user interface. And opening that is just clicking on this. Takes a second, and it will show you the video feed, the live video feed. And we're going to use Andy here as a guinea pig. He's going to put on his mask. And he will come a step further, exactly. So basically, he's looking into the camera, right? You can see he has a mask on. Just take the mask off for a second. And bam, the application is recognizing that he does not have a mask on, basically. You can see a red bounding box around his face with a certain confidence level, and basically we can send then this information into any kind of system. And that's exactly what I want to show you at this point. I'm going to switch to a VMS, which in this case will be Milestone, and hopefully we'll see an alarm there. And this alarm will mean that Andy's not wearing a mask. So I'm just going to switch to Milestone real quick. You can see the live video feed at the top, and you can see a list of events down here. So this was the last event, for example, which was literally 10 seconds ago when Andy was there. And I'm just going to step in here, show my face without a mask, and bam, there it is. The alarm that a mask is missing. And it's as easy as that, right? So we've shown you a mask detection application, and we've shown you also an integration into a VMS, in this case, Milestone. Andy, are there any questions from the audience at this point?
Yeah, so just got one here. Can this app also integrate in Bosch Video Management System?
Good question. So basically, we showed you how this works in Milestone. We have tested this out with a couple of other VMSs just as well. We have tested it out, for example, in Genetec, BVMS, also other VMSs, not that well known, but for example, NX Witness. Virtually any VMS is possible. So if you have a very specific VMS where you would like to see this happening, then please just let us know. We'll schedule another live demo with you where we integrate in the VMS you would like to see, and we'll make that happen.
That's it for now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so another thing that's really interesting about our cameras is that they can run multiple apps at the same time, right? So currently we're running the AI Face Detect application, but I'm also going to start another application, which is the Semantic PPE inspection application. This application was developed by Semantic, and PPE stands for Personal Protective Equipment, which basically really just means a helmet and a yellow vest, right? So basically, for example, if you have a construction site and you want to make sure that your employees are wearing their PPE equipment, then you can use this application to see how many people are actually using it, and if there's an accident, if you're actually liable for that, right? So I'm just going to start this real quick by clicking on Start. Also, this application will have a user interface. I just click on the respective link, and bam, as easy as that, our camera woman Cecilia is already being recognized. She does not have a vest or a helmet on, and Andy will again test this out. He does have a helmet and a vest, and he's going to stand here in front of the camera real quick. You should be able to see a green bounding box around him and a red bounding box around our camera woman. Andy, why don't you take the helmet off real quick? Yeah, so it's as easy as that. Helmet is off, and respectively, the camera suggests that he does not have a helmet on. Why don't you put the helmet back on and take off the vest? Yep, so now the camera suggests that he does not have a vest on, right? And I've shown you before an integration into a VMS, specifically Milestone. At this point, I would like to show you that we can also integrate into other systems. And specifically, I mean third-party systems such as databases. I have a database running in the background, or at least I'm going to start that real quick. And I'm going to access that database. Just logging in here. So there's this database called PPE, which I already made. And there you can see several entries that have been created just now, as you can see by the timestamp. So what you're actually seeing is a lot of entries. You see an ID, you see a timestamp, and you see a column with a missed item. The missed item is showing vest and helmet. Basically what you're seeing is our camera woman Cecilia, who's not wearing any PPE, and thus entries are being written in this database automatically, right? If I were to stop the application, then there would be no more entries here anymore.
Just on the PPE, we just got a question here. Can the PPE detection also detect multiple people at the same time?
Yes, I mean, we've seen it, actually, let's try that, right? So Cecilia is being recognized right now. Myself, I'm being recognized. Andy, why don't you come in the frame as well? That's 3 people already. I can't tell you exactly how many more, or yeah, how much more people the application is going to detect, but I mean, I would say up to 10 people, this should be working just fine. Any more questions from the audience, Andy?
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay. So I would also like to point out that this here is an implementation or an integration directly into a database that is running on our computer. But basically, this also works in a data lake that you have at your company, or a data warehouse, or even cloud systems like Azure, AWS, or Google Cloud Platform, you name it. Just let us know where you would like this data to be, and we'll show you that it works.
Okay, on that note, as I said it, we have another question. What different camera types do you and your partner support?
That's a good question. So we have, for example, so this Vivotech here, for example, is a dome camera, but we also have bullet cameras in our repertoire or portfolio. We do have a Bosch MIG, for example, that would be a PTZ camera. There's box cameras that I know of. Also, maybe at this point worth mentioning, we do have a small AI box. That's basically a box that you can connect to any other camera. It will feed in its RTSP stream, and the analytics work directly on that camera. So it's basically an edge device. So yeah, virtually any type we can kind of make it work, at least with the AI box, if not supported by the camera manufacturers.
And one more thing is, you've already showed us 2 apps now, right? So how many, can you combine multiple different apps on one camera?
Well, that depends a bit what you mean with combine. When you say combine, if you mean by that running at the same time, it's happening right now. right? So there's 2 applications running. We could run more applications. In our experience, the chip that is on these cameras can support up to 5 or 6 applications at the same time. If you say combine in a matter that, for example, you want to combine 2 different applications and create some business logic. For example, well, in this case, someone is not wearing PPE, personal protective equipment, and also not a face mask, then yes, we do have an application that can run on the camera as well, where you can basically build up this logic and send an event if that is the case. Hopefully that answers your question.
And one more, as before we go on. Do these apps also work in closed networks, or do they need some sort of internet connectivity?
Good question. So basically, these applications are running directly on the camera. In order to install the applications, you might need an internet connection, or it makes it a lot easier. But if you don't have an internet connection, then there's also a way to put these applications on the camera without the camera being connected to the internet, right? But no, the applications themselves, they do not need to be connected to the internet to run. The camera can also report to the outside world, or let's say to your internal network, just without internet. It's totally fine.
Great, that's it for now.
Okay. So I've shown you 2 different applications, and let's just say that these 2 applications have pre-trained models to recognize very specific things. That was a mask and the PPE. But I would also like to show you another application that's a little bit more flexible. Basically, it's an application that we're going to train ourselves, and we're going to do it on the fly right now. For that, I'm going to use a different camera. I'm not going to use this one. I'm going to use this one right here. Should be able to see it. And it's pointing directly at this table right here that we have in the middle. And let me just show you the video feed real quick. So this is the table, right? And I'm going to open up an application that is called Neurala Brain Builder. I'm going to open the user interface of this application, and it's showing me the video feed, and basically it will try to classify certain objects. Right now, it's showing me nothing I know because we have not trained any model yet. We have some fruit here, and Andy's going to put in there a banana. Yep, that looks good. I'm going to say that this is a new class, and I'm going to call this a banana. I'm going to click on OK there, and click on Train. We're going to train the model from different perspectives, right? The banana, we're taking a look from different perspectives, just to make the model a bit more powerful. Why don't you, once more? The banana once more, exactly, yeah. Thanks. Okay, so now we've trained the banana. Why don't you take the banana away? It will say, nothing I know. And if you put it back on it, actually it's not saying that. It's recognizing this is a banana. Because, well, the table was part of the model, the training right now. If we say that this is a table right now, and we click on train, then it will recognize this as a table. Exactly. If you put the banana back on, it recognizes the banana as a banana. We're going to try this with a different fruit right now, with an orange. Why don't you go ahead, Andy? So that's an orange. It's application is saying nothing I know, which is already a good sign. We're going to define a new class and say that this is an orange. Click on OK there and say train. Why don't you change the angle a bit of the orange? Yes, exactly. Train again, this is an orange. And once more. Other way. With this pointing up. Yeah, exactly. So we have all sides. Yep, sounds good. So why don't you take the orange away? saying it's a table. Why don't you put the orange back on? Recognizes the orange, and now the banana, once more. Yep, so there's the banana. The banana and the orange are two very different fruits, right? So the shape is completely different, the color is completely different. We would like to show you also that this works with objects that are quite similar to each other. And that would mean that in this case we're going to use an apple, which has the same shape as the orange, but not exactly the color. So you put in an apple, and the model is saying nothing I know, which is a good sign. And we're going to call this an apple. And train that. Yep, why don't you change that a bit? The angle. Just going to train the model a little bit. Sounds good. Okay, so the apple is being recognized. Why don't you take it away? Put the orange back on. And, well, you see, it's recognizing an apple and an orange, but that's a good sign. It means that the model is recognizing that those are two very similar objects. Just with a little bit more training, right? Basically 2 or 3 more trainings here, then basically it will work. Okay, so let's give it a second. Okay, take the orange away and put in the apple again. And now it's saying the apple. So there's that. This is a pretty cool application, and I'd like to quickly give you an example where we have used this in a client scenario. So basically we have this client who is a container shipping yard, and there's containers entering and leaving the shipping yard on trucks. And basically at the back of these containers, there's doors to those containers, and there's oftentimes small little seals. And these seals basically mean that the doors have not been opened and the contents of the container have not been tampered with, right? And by recognizing these seals and also writing that into a database at our client, he always knows if a container that is arriving at his place has been tampered with, or if a container is leaving, that a seal is definitely there. Because maybe his client will say, hey, I'm not sure if this has been tampered with, and he can show him the proof that it definitely has not been tampered with, right? So this is an amazing use case that we've used there, but you can also imagine this working somewhere else. For example, in a supermarket, every time that I buy fruit at the counter, basically the fruit has to be put on the scale, and the number of the fruit has to be typed in, and only then the fruit is really scanned. But if you would have technology like this, then basically this classification would work automatically, it would work faster, and it would work less error prone, right? And if you think a bit more on the long term, you can even think about this or imagine this working as kind of like a self-checkout. That basically you would go into a supermarket, you would buy whatever you want, and when you would come out, the cameras would know what you had picked up and bill you directly connected to your bank account and so on and so forth.
It's actually funny he says that, because we just recently published an article on Insights Pages about self-checkout and how you can use apps like Narella to make life easier, more efficient, and of course, what more do you want? Automated. So thanks. Yeah. I'll make sure I share that in the chat with you now. I think that will wrap it up for the day, and we wish you a very pleasant evening. Wherever you are in the world, it's time for us to go. Anyway, and thank you again for joining. Really liked having so much interaction in the chat, and lots of good questions came in. Again, please reach out to us. Please fill out the feedback survey, and maybe we'll do this again with some different applications.
Absolutely. Also, very warm thank you from my side, and have a great rest of the day.